What's up, fam? Welcome to day 8 of our Purpose Challenge. Yesterday was day 7 and we were talking about the reason for everything. And we said we were created for God's glory, to reflect His glory. The reason for everything was to reflect His glory. And today we are going to be talking about planned for God's pleasure. I see both tying together. I see both really bringing out the fact that we were planned for God's pleasure. So I see the glory of God like reflection of God Himself. And then I see planned for God's pleasure as actually us bringing Him joy. So it's like, we're reflecting Him, we're showing forth who He is as His glory, as carriers of His glory, or as reflections of His glory. And then I see us being planned for His pleasure as bringing Him joy. And again, think about the fact that if you had something in mind, if you had a project in mind, you had a design in mind, and you designed that thing, it brings you, first of all, the very mere concept of that design, it reflects the artist's mind, and that will be like, it's a reflection of the artist, and then, that will be like us being created for God's glory, and then, bringing pleasure, that artist actually looking at that thing and being like, oh man, I'm happy that, I did this. This really brings me pleasure and joy. That is how God looks at us. We bring Him pleasure, we bring Him joy. And so again, yesterday we talked about the fact that when we worship Him, we bring Him joy, we bring Him pleasure. And so I want you to remember that worshiping Him is not just about singing, it's not just about going to church, but it's actually turning the little mundane things to make Him happy. Think about, as a parent, sometimes your child, or they do little things throughout the day that just makes you happy. That is how God looks at us. I know in the society, with all the evil that is going on, with all the ills and everything, people could just be like, how could God be pleased? How could God create the world and allow all of these bad things to happen? Even though bad things happen, can you see some good things that happen in the world that actually give God pleasure? Can your life be that one thing, or can you be that one person that gives God pleasure? Can your eating, your meal time, your shower time, your walks, or the way you do your job, can those be things that give God pleasure? So instead of focusing on everything else bad that is happening, or everything else that is not going well, how can we focus on bringing God worship? How can we focus on making our lives pleasing to God as He intends us to bring Him pleasure? So looking at the little things that we do, whether it's our work, whether it's just our daily activities, whether it's just the way we live, or whether it's how we love someone else, or whether it's how we serve someone else, how can we make those things to give God pleasure? So when we understand that we are meant and we are created to give God pleasure, we are going to turn little tasks or little things that we do. Sometimes you're listening to music, and you can just use in that moment, you can praise God. Sometimes you can just be dancing in that moment. You can be like, oh God, thank you for, giving me the ability to dance and praise you. Just little things. And also, that's also going to give us that consciousness as well, that if we are created to give God pleasure, what are the things that I'm doing that are not giving God pleasure? And turning away from those things. Because if I'm able to give God pleasure, or if my life can give God pleasure, then my actions can also be displeasing to God. And so living a purpose-driven life gives you that consciousness that, oh, I want to please God even in the way I talk. I want to please God even in the way I serve. I want to please God even in the way I carry myself, in the way I dress, in the way I appear, in the way I look. A lot of us do a lot of things, whether it's dressing or whatever, to please ourselves. But sometimes, you know, when you put something on, you can ask yourself, is this reflecting God? Is this pleasing to God? And you would be surprised at the answer that you'll get. You'll be surprised at what comes out of it. But we can turn the little things we do into actions that please God, and by so doing, also worshiping Him. So the question for today is, what can I do as unto the Lord? What thing can I do which I can change the way I do it, as doing it directly as a way of worshiping God, as a way of pleasing God? Is it washing the dishes? Is it, you know, taking care of my kid? Is it taking care of, you know, serving others? What can I do as an act that, what common task can I do? What simple thing can I do? What can I change in the mundane things that I do, as though I were doing it directly for Jesus? When we do that, trust me, complaining will cease, murmuring, anger, frustration will cease from the little things that we do, because now we are doing it with the purpose of bringing God pleasure and worship. I hope this blessed you. Again, I feel like this is an extension of what we're talking about on day 7. Knowing that everything was created, we're created for God's glory. We're created to bring Him pleasure. And so we're going to continue tomorrow on day 9. I want you to share this video with someone, comment with your thoughts, and let us know if we are blessing you with our videos. Have a good one, and I'll see you on day 9 of our Purpose Driven Challenge. Bye-bye.